going on, everybody? I'm going to try to get this going. It's been a while since I used it. I had to update some stuff. I'll get some other things running and we'll get this video started. This one's not running live yet. I can't see it. There you go. There. There it is. I see it. There we go.
Yeah. Breaker, no sound Jersey checking in. Danny in the shop where the real ones begin. 454s, 2290s, 2879s.
Welcome to the weekend, everybody. Oh, we got a really cool system here. Randy and Russell and Bill. 12 people up here on Facebook and 3 from YouTube. It's raining here in Jersey. I'm going to get this party started. Alright. Get a few things here situated and get them presented, and then I'll be able to take and get into this. Let me move a few things around, folks. You know what? Yeah. Well, I'm going to leave it just like this for a minute. Thought about this a little bit. Alright, happy birthday, Mike Olson. How are you, sir? Get in here. Alright, so, as you can see, we have a wireless system in here. Right here in the middle. And with that said, you guys all seen them. They're $210 shipped out anywhere in the United States for the wireless system, and I can do all kinds of stuff with these things. They're really, really cool. So the little Psycho Zip 2-pill driver is going to be turned on, and then the MooZilla 8-pill 2879-C is going to be turned on with this remote. So comes with 2 fobs like this already programmed. They do come with instructions how to reprogram if you choose to, or have to get another remote. So if I hit this first button right here, this on button, it'll turn on that little driver and correspond with the voltage that's plugged in. So as you guys all seen, if this is new to you as far as the wireless system goes, you can have your stuff plugged in, just push the jack in straight away and pull it out straight out, and you shouldn't have any problems. I do highly still suggest to unplug your equipment before you plug in remote systems like this, or any remote system. The tip is hot. Sometimes they can get jammed up, and then you could burn some wires up and have massive problems. So with that said, I highly suggest you just unplug your gear before you plug in any remote box as far as that matter goes, including this digital one. If you choose not to, just be really quick and swift about it. Make sure you hit the hole and in and out. So, all right, so the first button does that, and then the off button turns on the 8. So now we can see, we can turn them on and off how we choose. They also will read separate voltages because they are independent from each other. So the source of the power for the driver's side is sourced from the amplifier itself, vice versa for the MooZilla. So as far as the powering these things up, they're coming from the amplifier, so it makes it really nice. About 24 inches, 25 inches of wire hanging out the back of these things, so should have enough room to move things around, and that's what I'm getting ready to do now. We had it running. We're going to shut it down for a second, and we're going to pull the lids off, and we'll take a look at that stuff. Let's just take and get a few things out of the way. Okay. Change stands here real quick. Come on, Angelo, how are you? Dustin Scott, what's happening? All right, so there you go. Absolutely, curtain matches the drapes, if you want to look at it that way. But absolutely cool little unit. I have one thing I got to touch up yet. I didn't do it. I'll deal with it later. Playing with the tuning a little bit. And then here's your 8. So kind of regular business coming across this. No, that resistor's not burnt. That is the coil you see right there. If you say, oh, look, you got burnt resistor. No, I don't. So I did this in the same format that I do the South Jersey line. I did leave this still open over here just because this box will never have an internal driver in them. I highly suggest you don't put an internal driver in 2879 or I mean 2879Cs. I don't offer them with an internal driver. That's why we do this externally. But I did build this the same mock-up as the South Jersey front end on them because it is essentially low voltage of drive going into this unit. But I did leave my bowling alley right here for if I ever wanted to do something like that, I could. But as I will say now, it'll probably never happen. So that said, I have two 106 CFM cooling fan systems on here with airflow purification, meaning it's got a filter on it. Not just a fan grill, it's a fan grill and a fan filter, and also it has a filter system, as you can see, for the electronic side of it. And I have points inside this thing. So, and ferrite, and silicone wire. And I use plenty of it, so I zipped it in there, so if a guy needs to take and really get his lid out of the way, he can do that. So there's plenty of wire in there. I'm not skimping on wire as far as how you get it from A to B from the box. Now this one here, it's a factory wire on that fan, so it's far enough. But at any rate, any way you want to cut it, we can take and put the lids on this thing, and we're going to start running them. And we're going to try a couple different voltages. We are going to run this on the antenna. Run it on a dummy load, but I choose to run it on the antenna, and then I'll show you something else that I've changed the system, and it changed the game for me. I can't believe I did this for 30 years the same way, and I didn't, I never made any changes as far as that matter goes. So, 30 years of doing something the same way. Imagine that. All right, so here is the change. I incorporated a sine wave tone generator system. So my voice is somewhere right around 300 hertz, so that's what we're going to transmit at. And I'll show you that in the video. But as far as it goes, it's going to free me up to be able to talk and clarify what's going on with the watt meters and what's happening in real time, instead of me saying, oh, I can't talk while I'm taking and doing that. So we're going to take and run a tone. So let's just take a look. And right now we're going to be riding everything at about 14.9. Now the guy's going to end up getting a different power supply eventually, and he's going to up the voltage on the drive on the 8. So I'll end up taking and plugging into the lower power supply and give him another extra 3/4 of a volt or so, and we're going to be able to see the increase as far as the output power would go. All right. So let me take and we got the driver running. Let me turn it on the remote box. All right. Now you've seen that. I just had, I'll shut it off. I had hit the switch, so you can see there's a switch on it. So if I hit this, nothing's going to happen. So I'm going to shut on and off. I'll turn that one on, but now I got to turn it off, turn it on. All right, so everything's running. All right, so we cut that off. We are on the antenna, and we are going to take and run in a moment. I'm going to take and just get a little carrier here and see what's going on. Alright, so we got a little bit of a carrier, and I'll just do a little bit of voice audio. This is a 250 watt slug. Audio, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Alright, let me back this down. I had it set up earlier, and I went and tested something, and anyhow, forgot to put it back. Alright, so let's try this again. And we're looking at it again. Audio. So, on my voice, I'm about 80, 90, between 95 and 100 watts or so. again, this is a 250 watt slug, 25 watt in return, back to my driver. And here is just the driver running on my tone now. Alright, there's the tone. So right there at 100 watts or so is what it says. And here's what my peaker tweaker says right there. 450, 500. And let's look at RMS. Well, that one's showing me a little different there. Let's see what this one's showing me. Showing me about $1.25 or so. Alright, so going back, let's look at that peak coming out. 350. Okay, 350, 375. That's realistic numbers right there. It's right there on it. Oh, we got going on with the amperage on that little driver. About 17 amps. And that was the voltage as well. That little driver, it is back down. I have a soft radio going into this right now. We'll be able to pick that up. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and get into that pick 'em up thing, because this is a lot of places where people can control their system a little bit, like I'm showing right here. I can't control my voltage to my driver, nor I can't control the voltage going to my 8. But I can control the voltage going to my radio. So if we look at that, we're at 12.4, and we're making with the 300 hertz tone, we're making right about 100 watts of power. So if I take and crank this up to where its optimal performance is, all right, right there, about 14.9. All right, now let's take a look at what we can do. So I'm passing through the 8, and I'm pulling about 135 watts RMS through there. Now here's what's happening on the antenna. It's all cool. All right, so let's see if that peak increased a little bit. All right, so we're on 350, 375, and my amperage picked up. I was at 17, now I'm at 20. So you can clearly see there's an increase just in drive level. But for matter of the test I'm doing, I'm going to back this back down. I'll bring it back up here in a bit. And we're going to take and now turn on, we're going to shut this off. We're going to shut this off to transmit. And I'm going to take and set a carrier real quick. Let's take and get a carrier set. So about 500 watts or so. 500, I'm pretty happy. All right, audio. Yeah, my antenna backs down a little bit sometimes. Audio. I'm hanging around right about 2 watts reflection on my antenna. And that's not terrible. So now I'm hitting my transmit drive, 300 hertz, I'm sine wave. And let's look at my input drive level now. All right, back at our 100 watts, my input reflection, a little over a half a watt. There's your voltage and amperage with both pieces running. So we're at 135 amps at 14.7. And let's see what the digital RMS says on the 2500 scale. Let's double check that. Oh, we're at 5000 scale. All right. So we're showing 1000, 1050 or so. And let's see what the peaker tweaker says. So it's showing me 2000 watts. 2500 RMS. Each line is 50 watts is the division. And we're hanging out right around a kilowatt, 1000 watts. And what's my antenna doing? And she's still hanging out down around 2. So if I go back down to RMS, it's showing me right around that 1000, 1050. That's what it says on this slug here. It's 2500. So it's showing me 925, and it just goes to show you the difference of the slugs. All right. So we'll keep this over 5 kilowatt because it really matches up with this one well. And we'll just kind of go from there. So with that said, it kind of shows my voltage here, and it will dance a little bit. Mostly I see it dance on my bench for some reason. But a lot of guys, they put them in their vehicles. They're not staring at them, but I'm sure they ran the test and they looked over their shoulder and see if the meters were solid or blinking or dipping or whatever. But what happens is sometimes I do get a little bit of a dip. So that's just what it's showing me here, and that's okay. It's digital meters. Like I said in my previous videos, these are $5 meters. They're not stupid expensive, but they do the job, and it's kind of an add-on because all the other wire remotes or the wireless systems in the past never offered voltmeters and etc. Just an LED light, pretty much about the amount of it. But that said, little Psycho Zip system in the MooZilla. That's that was my dog Zippy, and then that's my girl Molly. She's still around here. So with that said, let's just take a look at this again. So I said something about my voice, and here's 300 hertz right here, and it's on a tone. So let's see it run. Audio. Oh, I don't even have to scream. All right, so we're at 1,000 watts right there. Now shut off the transmit. Audio, 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 audio. See, same 1,000 watts. So, how can I make more power with the voltage I have? Well, we're going to take and just turn this back on so I don't have to keep hooting and hollering in the microphone. And we're going to take and walk over here and we're going to crank this up to optimal performance on my radio. They're about 14.8, 14.9, that's cool. Now, I just did all that changing, but I increased what? My voltage, my radio. So my dead key is going to be way up there now. Watch this. Yeah, she is. She's at the 1,000, so I got to back my dead key down. We'll back it down, get it right around the 500-600 mark, somewhere right in there. All right, cool. I'll just give it a quick voice audio, quick voice audio, 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 audio. Now we're still hanging out right around that 1,000 watt mark. We increased the radio. Now let's see what my drive came up to here. See, now we're back at right around 132, 135 watts. And input reflection is still hanging out right around a half. So you notice it kind of went down. All right, so it went down. So here's your RMS again, 50 watts a line, and this is a 2,500 watt slug. And that's hanging out right around 1150. Let's take a look at the digital. And there's 1150, 1200, and then 10 is hanging out nicely. And look at my field strength, man, it's laid up in the corner. So definitely got a little bit of RF in the room. So that's your performance pretty much at 14.9 volts with both units running. Everything's on 14.9, including the radio. And we're pulling the whole system to 151 amps at 14.7 or 8 working. All right. So what's going on, Adam? How are you? All right. So now I'm going to take and just simply change voltage. Go back here and unplug the 8, and I'm going to plug it into approximately 3/4 of a volt more. All right. That should be off. I must have manually turned it on. Okay, now, as you can see, you clearly have two separate voltages reading there. All right, and that's cool. So, we're going to come right back out of the gate with wide open throttle. And now we're going to take a look at what just the 8 pill is drawing here on this amp meter. We're drawing 140 amps out of the 8. She's eating really well. Let's take a look and see if any more drive allowed to come through. We're just a touch over 130 before. Let's see if that extra 3/4 of a volt opened the door up a little bit. And it did. It picked up an extra almost 7 to 8 watts. And you don't think that's a lot, but it's actual opened the door. There's your input reflection. It's a 1/2 watt. So we come back over here and look at RMS. Now we're hanging out at 1,300 RMS there. 2,500 up top here. Each line is 50 watts, so right there close to 1250, 1300. And 10 is hanging out, nice and low, still at 2. Now let's see what happens here when we hit the old peaker tweaker. Yeah, peaker tweaker. Here you go. We will increase. Now we're hitting 2250, 2250, 2300. So we picked up about 125 watts simply by changing the voltage. You know what? I'll put it back. I'll put it back. I'm not going to go through the wire remote because you get tired of turning the button on. When you unplug it, you got to hit it again. So let's look at the peak again. So yeah, that's one more time. 2050, all right, 2000 to 2050. Now I'll go back over. I think we're picking up 175 watts. I'm thinking here. Take another look at that. There you go, 2250, 2300. So. Yeah, we picked up. And that's only 3/4 of a volt difference. I mean, here's your voltage. This is where we're hanging out at. 15.6. We're up there at 14.7, 14.8 before. So, regardless, the way how you choose the system to use it is up to you. Now, in the description in every video that I talk in about stuff, we talk about coax phase angle. You get into the coax phase angle, and some people believe it and some people don't. And it took me a long time to take in, understand, and be a firm believer. Believe me, I've been down this rabbit hole of velocity factor and coax length for a lot of years. But, you know, just realistically, I learn daily, and the more I work with stuff, the more you learn, and you just get better and better at it. And that's why I can take the time to spend with people on the phone and get them through some of their issues. But with that said, I'm running a half a wavelength from this radio down to this driver. This is a half a wavelength coax right here. So in layman's terms, that's 12 foot, but that only works, that 12 foot number only really works if you're in the velocity family of 0.66. So if you have 0.66, it's going to be Belden 9201, I think it is, and then that's the Mini 8 right here. And then you have 213, 214, 217, and 218. That is one family. Now you have your Teflon family. That's 0.69, 0.5 VOP. So it's going to be, means that the coax is going to be 6-7 inches longer typically. Now you get into the foam family, the LMR stuff and or the Helix stuff, and all those VOPs are way up in the 80s. They start at 80 and then they just keep on climbing all the way up to 91 as far as the Helix goes. So if you are stub tuning your stuff, know your meter, understand it, and if you have a different velocity factor of coax and you go to stub tune your stuff on, let's say your Rig Expert AA55 or whatever you have, what's going on, trucks? How are you? Whatever you have, make sure you go into the settings and you set the VOP in length, and that's the size where you set your VOP. And it comes standard pre-selected at 0.66. So you manually have to take and understand what you have as far as coax matter goes and take and literally change the numbers in your analyzer. So moving on about the coax, and we're going to do a live test. And with that live test is, right now I'm running a half a wavelength from my radio here down to this driver, and then another additional half a wavelength or a 12 going from the driver to the 8. And a lot of guys say, man, that's a lot of coax. I don't need that much coax. They're sitting right next to each other. Don't matter. This is what it takes for this and this to work together on your antenna, and it's not always going to be the same. What's going on, Molly? You gotta say hello to everybody. We'll stop for a second. Hi, how are you? You show everybody you got a new haircut? You look so pretty. Yes, you do. Yeah, you gonna shake? Yeah, you shake. Oh, you're sitting up like a squirrel and shaking. How are you? You can say hello. Yes, you say hello. So what you been doing? You taking naps? You had a good breakfast this morning, huh? Had some bacon? You had some eggs? Yeah? Had some potatoes? Yes? Okay. You want some peanuts? Okay. Let's get you a couple peanuts and we're going to get busy. All right? You going to catch it? Oh, you missed that one. Here, we'll try this one. We'll get that one later. Missed that one too. All right. So, let's get on over here, Molly. Come on. Come on, get in there. Go on back over there and give you a couple peanuts and we'll get back to you in a bit. All right, good girl. All right, so I'm going to show you the run on the antenna, and then I'm going to simply change around some coax just to let you guys see how much it really changes. All right, now remember, all my coax is cut, and I include my line section because it's part of my piece of coax that I'm using to do these tests. So if you're nulling out your coax or stub tuning your coax, keep in mind, if you have a line section that's hanging directly on the back of your box, either permanently or like a connector like I make, or one similar to it where you can take that line section on and off, you need to incorporate your line section as part as that jumper going from here back to here. All right, so keep that in mind. You can work really hard on your coax and then put a line section on there and you just put you backwards again. So you just run you farther down frequency. You know, something's longer, it's going to be lower on frequency. So there you have that. Now, let's just take and get some baseline tests here real quick. And we'll turn stuff on. And we'll just take and we'll just run the tone. It's running. And let's take a look at a few things, all right? Try to make it bigger. All right, here we go. And we're lighting it up, and we're hanging out right around 130, 135 watts. Now, the input reflection is right there at about a half a watt. Now, here's where you really got to start looking. Your output reflection, all right? I'm hanging out right there around 2, and here's my output power. All right, so right around 1250, and the peaker tweaker. All right, so all I'm going to do is change one piece of coax. It's going to be this 12. I'm going to take this out of line. Try to get this 6 lined up. All right, take this one loose and install this one. All right, now I have a 6 6. Now I installed a 6 right here. Okay? And that's going from the input, the 8 output of the 2. Now here's a 6. Now let's just go right back over here. Okay? I probably should have showed you something, but I'll reverse that test in a minute. Alright. So save drive. Inputs went up a little bit. Did the power? About the same. What about the peak? It showed a little bit increase. But what happened here? Alright, it showed about the same, but if I cut this off and I throw a dead key and I try to adjust this. So if you watch both meters and I throw a dead key, she's still pretty stable with the 6. Well, there's that 500. Now if I talk in audio, she backs on down. If I do the tone, same difference. It stays down low. Now, that's a 12 and a 6. And some combinations, it really don't matter. I would say it depends on you to do the test and make sure that when you turn your dead key up and down, that your reflect isn't going all kinds of crazy, and this shouldn't be all jittery trying to catch a low. Meaning, trying to take and be stable. It seems to be pretty stable with the 6. So we'll try another jumper here in a minute. Try to make things bigger. Alright, so that's the tone. Cut the tone off again. And here's the carrier. It will go down. It will crawl up slow. There's no really giddy spots in it. Alright, so everything seems to be nice and smooth there. So, again, I would suggest a half a wavelength, but you could probably get away with a quarter of a wavelength. Well, let's just try something stupid. Let's try the 3. Because there's guys that like to run 3-foot jumpers. And I don't know how good or bad that is. Sometimes you have to. I have to sometimes. Well, let's just see what a 3 does. I didn't do this in the testing. I want to see what it's going to do. We're sitting here testing right now. So let's just see. This is no differently if I was doing this off camera. I would normally run this test. I didn't do it, but I'm going to take and do a kick real quick and see what happens. Okay. So now, I have no tone running. And now I am running my dead keys all the way down to minimum. Okay. And I am all the way up around 600 watts. Inputs are a little bit higher. And that's my dead key and my drive. See my drive level? Go ahead and turn on the tone. Run for the consistency here. Here's the tone. Wow, we actually made more power. Okay. Inputs? Yeah, they're a little higher. I have my antenna. Alright. It went up a little. What happened here? Oh, that went up a bit. So that's a 3-foot jumper, but what happens when I cut the tone off and I take and I try to make adjustments? See, when I turn it way up, it goes down. You see how the standing wave, my reflection is dancing? Well, I'm talking about, if you don't have the proper meters, you can't tell that. But what this is telling me, my radio is burned all the way down to minimum. I got almost too much carrier. Alright, so we'll ditch all of that. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to take and go right over to the 12 now. Go back to that half a wavelength. There we go. Alright, take this 3 out of here. Now, on another note, a lot of people make videos and a lot of people are trying to sell stuff. Or they're building some equipment and they're new at it. And they may not show you all of these tests. Either they don't know about them, which they should. If they're building an amplifier and they're presenting it to the general public, then they should probably show all of the tests. Not just some of them, not just the peak and not just the amperage. They should talk about a lot of what's going on with this equipment. And they don't talk about it, then they either don't know or they just don't care to share with you. This should not be any secrets when you're taking and trying to set somebody up for success. Oh, I forgot to tell him about this, or I didn't tell him about this. Well, he'll figure it out. I had to. That's not the right attitude to go about it. I failed a lot in my life to understand, and that's the best way to learn, is sometimes just to simply fail. Now, we try not to do that on video because I do a lot of testing as I do this stuff. So let's say we continue. Now we're back at the 12. Remember, my radio's back all the way down to 0, nothing. And let's just see if we have anything as far as the carrier goes, or all the above. I'm trying to get my hand situated here. Alright, I got a little carrier out of that. And it's all the way down. You see it's minimum. I got a little bit. Got a tone on there? Nope, no tone. Alright, so let's just take and see what happens when I roll the dead key on this one now. Trying to act like that 3. I really got this system balanced out well. I spent a lot of time doing tests and etc. and do all these different tests, because you guys can remember I birthed everything with this. So after I get one box done, then I go and build. The guy says, "Oh, I need a driver at the last minute," so I build him a driver, and now I got to do all the testing all over again. And that's fine. I should, and that's just part of my job. But if I throw a carrier right in here, everything's fairly happy. I'll throw a tone on it, and everything's right back to where she wants to be. So we're looking at all the numbers as we're burning down the airwaves right now, because we are on an antenna on channel 6. So breaker. Any way you want to cut it, guys, this is the system I put together. I'm quite sure the guy's going to be delighted to run this stuff. I have to put a couple lugs on the little zippy box. He did request me to put lugs on his gear, but I had to do that after the fact. I think it was this one. Yeah, it was this unit. So I got to put the lugs on it, because he is going to mount it up to a power supply. Now, technically, I normally don't like to take and do lugs. This is the system in your base or mobile. I love this system just simply because you're not soldering nothing. You can take an Allen wrench, take this apart, put it on another connector. This positive and negative LC connector, it's called an LC40. You can get them over at Walmart next door, about 22 bucks, somewhere right in there. So you get one male, one female, and that would do one line. And also, if you have a negative line, you just do the same thing, but you'd reverse it. You always want to take and put the male connector on the red wire. You never want to put the male connector on the positive wire coming off your batteries or power supply, because at any point that could be hanging out, be like me, touch something, and you have arcing and sparking in the power supply. My power supply is just simply shut down if that happens. Most of them do. It's called the crowbar effect, and they hit that crowbar and they shut down. But any way you want to go, guys, there's so many different options. This guy gave me the run. He says, I don't know what colors I want. Pick something out, Danny. You do normally a really nice job, and you just go ahead and pick me some colors out, and that's what I'll go with. So that's what I ended up doing. And the boxes came out absolutely gorgeous. I really, really enjoyed the build. They ran really, really nice. And that's pretty much what you can get when you take and look at MooZilla and Psycho Zip. Now, one more thing I added for this, and the guy paid me a little extra. As you can see in the back of this unit, there's a switch right here. And what does this switch do? If I flip that up, now that foot pedal. He wanted this on a foot pedal. This is what he asked for. His other units that he owns are set up on a foot pedal RCA jack, and I did that. So the switch, what the switch does, it now takes it out of the keying circuit is down. That's normally the amplifier will function all by itself. Now, if you flip this switch up like that, you have to hit that foot pedal. Now, I don't have a foot pedal here, but I do have a pair of needle nose. All right, so if I'm crudely going to do this, I'm just going to do it. It's your key. All right, key. Hear it? All right, there you go. Key. All right, there's not even a little spark even happening right there. That's just because electricity making it to the ground. All right, so both units have automatic sideband delay, and notice one thing, there's no potentiometer in front of Zippy. So, probably not the right amplifier to run. I think the guy said he's got a Kenwood or an ICOM or something. he's going to go on sideband with this one. And his AM system, he's going to use the Zippy and this. But they both have auto sideband delay inside of them, and so you don't have to worry about anything like that. But it did have a the RCA jack in the back, and it is wired up for the foot pedal or the King circuit. That pretty much sums that all up. I think I covered everything. I built the guy, he said he needed a ground cable for it. So here's his ground cable with his 9/16, and yeah, I got about 40,000 feet of the 6-gauge wire. So yeah, I use 3 of them. Guess what? It's no differently than if it were in one slew. So there you go. I got 3 wires for a ground, 3 wires coming out of the amplifier. I would say that'd be pretty balanced right there. Well, let's take and do one more thing. MooZilla. This your box? Huh? You a good girl, aren't you? You gonna wave? Yes. Here's a peanut. Here's a peanut. Woo! You doing all that? Molly. What do you do? Pretty? Ah, you're a good girl. There you go. Oh, you dropped it. So, we're going to get going. You going to say goodbye? Come here. Say bye-bye. Say, see you later, alligator. Have a good weekend. Huh? Say, have a good weekend. Say bye-bye. Molly. That's right. You say, see ya. See you next time? Yeah, you're a good girl. Let's see you next time, huh? One more? Say bye-bye. We got to go. Say bye-bye. Molly. MooZilla. There's a MooZilla song. Ready? Pac-Man. Get him. Oh, she's such a good girl, guys. You guys don't even understand how good Molly is. People come over to my shop and don't even know that she's here. She's upside down, sleeping with her feet up in the air. So, hey, guys, thanks for stopping by on the weekend. Kind of a little lengthy video, but as I said, did all this testing on the antenna. You can see I'm on my antenna right here. It goes out the window over yonder. So, a little Starduster antenna. It tuned up pretty well. I talked pretty good skip on it. But, listen guys, if you guys are in the market and you're looking for a hot box, MooZilla box, custom tailored to your liking, well, I'm pretty much the guy to hit on that. So, I got some really cool projects coming up. I know I haven't did a lot of videos, but it just makes them sweeter when I do get them done, because I'm putting together some pretty big systems for some guys. So I have a really big system coming up soon. So it's going to be a 300 special plus power supply, a 12 pill and a 5 pill controlled, and it's all going to run on one service. So it's going to be a really neat build. I'm kind of excited about doing that one. But with that said, guys, you really got to just break down the numbers of how much drive wattage you're putting into a transistor to take and survive. So if you take a look at what we did today, we were running right around 135 watts of drive, and you divide that 8 times. That is only 16.87 watts per chip, or per transistor, I should say. And that's not a lot. These are 2879Cs. You can grow all the way up to right around 20 to 22 watts of drive. And that's all you have to do is know your maximum number, just like the tachometer in your vehicle. It says it racks out at 7,000 RPMs. Do you ever put it there? Probably not. Now, if you choose to, you're kind of on your own. But I'm trying to tell everybody the best way to take and do the performance on their equipment, even if it's mine or somebody else's. And a lot of times they all work about the same. So keep that in mind. Coax length truly does matter. Your antenna system, 1.2 is not a game player. That is, you got to get back on it and work and get a 1.011 at very best. At the very worst, I should say. And you just have to take and get your stuff right, because the better your equipment and the better your antenna system and transmission lines are balanced, the better it's going to be for you to talk, and the equipment will thank you for it, because guess what? it will absolutely run cooler. So get your jumpers lined up, get your antenna and SWRs lined in really well, and you normally will do really, really good. And also ground. Ground is your friend. Can't really have ever too much. You can always have, you can add to your shack. You can take and bring a bus from outside and bring it into a copper pipe like I did here, and bring some strap, flat strap to your equipment and ground it. You got additional earth ground, and that's a good thing, because if you don't get additional earth grounds to your station, especially your shack, you could take and cause those ground wires that are being used as antennas, and they could cause TVI or RFI and have interference problems locally in your own house, a block away. Anything can happen. So keep all of those things in mind when you're taking and setting up your system, guys. I know you all want to get out there and talk. You want to slam it together. I've been doing this for 20 years. I know what I'm doing. And then you skip a couple things, the next thing you know, you got parts breaking down, jumpers burning up, antennas are on fire, all of the above. So just keep all those things in mind, and just follow the rules, and you guys will be in good shape. So with that said, I'm out of here. Y'all take care. Have a wonderful weekend. Try to catch you all soon. If I don't catch you by the 4th of July, y'all have a happy and safe 4th of July. And don't play with firecrackers. You blow your fingers off. I'll catch you all later. I'm out of here.